Right now, something could be happening inside your brain, quietly, slowly, and if it continues long enough, it could take away your memory, your independence, and eventually, your identity. And the scariest part? You wouldn't feel a single warning sign. No pain, no alarm, no moment where everything suddenly changes. Just small things, easy to ignore, forgetting someone's name, losing your words mid-sentence, walking into a room and standing there, wondering why you came in. If you've experienced that, even once, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Most people brush it off. They say, that's just aging. But here's the truth that doesn't get talked about enough. That explanation is dangerously misleading, because according to long-term research from institutions like the Framingham Heart Study and reports from the Lancet Commission, dementia is not something that suddenly appears. It's a slow process, a silent injury that can begin 10 to 20 years before symptoms show up. That means long before memory loss becomes obvious, your brain may already be shrinking, blood flow may already be dropping, and harmful proteins may already be building up between your brain cells. By the time most people notice something is wrong, the damage is already serious. And now here's what makes this even more important. It's not just about age. It's not just genetics. There are specific everyday habits, things many people do without thinking, that can speed this process up dramatically, almost like pouring gasoline on a slow fire. And today, we're going to break down the 5 biggest ones, from the least dangerous to the one researchers now believe could be the most powerful trigger of all. And you'll want to stay until the end, because number 2 surprised even scientists. It increased dementia risk faster than aging itself, even in people who thought they were doing everything right. Before we get into it, I want to ask you something simple. How old are you, and where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments. I actually read them. It helps me understand who this message is reaching. Let's start with number 5. Number 5, sitting too much. This one doesn't sound serious at first, but it is. In fact, it's one of the most overlooked threats to brain health today. For decades, researchers followed thousands of people through studies like the Framingham Heart Study, and they found something that should concern anyone who spends long hours sitting. Physical inactivity doesn't just affect your weight or your heart, it affects your brain directly. A large study published in JAMA Network tracked tens of thousands of older adults and found that people who sat for more than 10 hours a day had significantly higher rates of dementia. And the risk didn't just increase a little, it increased steadily the more time people spent sitting. That's what scientists call a dose-response relationship. In simple terms, the more you sit, the worse it gets. So what's actually happening inside your body? When you sit for long periods, blood flow to your brain slows down, and your brain depends on that flow for oxygen and nutrients. Without it, brain cells start to weaken. Over time, they begin to die. At the same time, inactivity increases inflammation in your body, and that inflammation damages areas like the hippocampus, the part of your brain responsible for memory. It also affects how your brain uses energy, increasing the risk of cognitive decline. The good news? You don't need extreme exercise to fix this. Research published in Nature Medicine shows that even moderate movement, like walking 5,000 to 7,000 steps a day, can make a real difference. Simple actions matter. Standing up every hour, walking around your house, stretching during the day. Every time you move, your brain benefits, because movement boosts something called BDNF, a protein that helps your brain grow, adapt, and stay strong. Now let's move to number 4, and this one might be sitting in your kitchen right now. Number 4, ultra-processed foods. If your diet regularly includes packaged snacks, sugary drinks, frozen meals, or fast food, you need to pay attention to this, because growing evidence shows these foods are not just bad for your body, they're damaging your brain. Recent findings linked to the Framingham Heart Study found that higher intake of ultra-processed foods is strongly associated with increased risk of Alzheimer's disease. In some cases, people consuming large amounts had nearly triple the risk. So what makes these foods so harmful? First, they trigger inflammation, not the kind you feel immediately, but a slow, chronic inflammation that damages brain cells over time. Second, they disrupt your gut microbiome, and your gut isn't just about digestion. It communicates directly with your brain. When your gut is unhealthy, your brain suffers too. Third, these foods often contain high levels of sodium and unhealthy fats, which can reduce blood flow to the brain. And fourth, they introduce chemical compounds that increase oxidative stress, basically causing wear and tear inside your brain. The good news again? You don't need to be perfect. Even small changes help. Replacing just a portion of processed foods with whole foods, like vegetables, fruits, fish, and healthy fats, can reduce your risk. This is the idea behind the MIND diet, which has been shown to support brain health. Now let's talk about something many people deal with every day, but don't realize how serious it is. Number 3, chronic stress. Stress is often treated like it's just part of life, something you push through, something you ignore. But long-term stress does more than affect your mood. It physically changes your brain. Research published in Frontiers in Aging Neuroscience shows that chronic stress can shrink the hippocampus, the part of your brain responsible for forming and retrieving memories. This happens because of a hormone called cortisol. In small amounts, cortisol is helpful, but when it stays elevated for too long, it becomes harmful. It damages brain cells, it weakens connections between them, and it speeds up the processes linked to Alzheimer's disease. This is why managing stress is not optional. It's essential. Simple habits like deep breathing, short daily breaks, exercise, and doing things you enjoy can make a measurable difference. Even 10 minutes a day can help protect your brain. Now we move to number 2. And this is where things get surprising. Number 2, social isolation. Not just feeling lonely, but actually having limited social interaction. A massive analysis involving over 600,000 people found that social isolation significantly increases the risk of dementia. Even more surprising, this effect remains strong even in people who didn't feel lonely. Data from the UK Biobank showed that socially isolated individuals had about a 26% higher risk of developing dementia. Why? Because your brain is designed for connection. When you talk to someone, you're activating multiple parts of your brain at once. Memory, language, emotion, decision-making. Without that stimulation, those systems weaken over time. The solution isn't complicated, but it does require intention. Talk to people regularly. Stay connected with family. Join groups. Volunteer. Engage with your community. Even small interactions matter. And now, we come to the most powerful trigger of all. Number 1, poor sleep. This is where everything changes. While you sleep, your brain does something incredible. It cleans itself. It removes toxic waste that builds up during the day, including proteins linked to Alzheimer's disease. But when your sleep is poor, that cleaning process doesn't work properly, and those toxins begin to accumulate. Research highlighted by the Lancet Commission shows that poor sleep is now considered a major risk factor for dementia. Over time, lack of sleep can speed up brain aging, increase inflammation, damage memory systems, and accelerate cognitive decline. Even just one night of bad sleep can disrupt this process. Now imagine years of it. The solution? Prioritize sleep. Aim for 7 to 8 hours. Keep a consistent schedule. Create a calm, dark environment, and address any underlying sleep issues if needed. Now let's bring it all together. Dementia is not just something that happens randomly. In many cases, it's influenced by daily habits. Sitting too much, poor diet, chronic stress, isolation, and lack of sleep. The powerful part? Every single one of these can be improved. You don't need to change everything overnight. Just start with one small change, and build from there, because the truth is simple. What you do today, your brain will carry into tomorrow. If this helped you see things differently,